Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of September 12th through 18th. And this is going to be a week mainly about relationships, really transforming and changing, reaching a stress point where things have to break and change, and how we handle that is going to be up to each of us individually. But if we fall into a negative space, it can be very, very self-destructive to relationships on that changing level this week. So first off though, just a little business. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It is available on YouTube every week. If you have a YouTube account, become a follower and then turn on your notifications, and you'll get the notification that the blog is up. Right now the blog is only a video of usually just me talking to the camera. Occasionally I show a chart, but it can be listened to on a number of different podcasts, so there's no reason to be attached to the video, so to speak. Just look up in your favorite podcast. About 20 of them carry it. It gets distributed through Buzzsprout, Spotify for sure, Apple iPodcasts, Reveal. Just look it up, because I know a lot of times it's easier just to hear the audio when you're in your car or working out or doing something else. Also, Astrological Winds channel is also on Instagram. That's another place where I post the link every week. So if you're on Instagram, look up Astrological Winds channel, become a follower. You see the link. And I usually put some bonus material on Instagram only. That's usually, during the week. There may be a couple days where I want to make some extra comments, and it's not video or audio. It's just take less than a minute to read. So you get some bonus material out of that stuff, and that's kind of cool too. Also, I do post it on Facebook. My Facebook account, however, is private, so you have to friend me first, and that's Matthew, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, Lawton, L-A-U-T-E-N. Now remember, this is a free service, so the best way you guys can pay me back is to please pass the link on to someone else as soon as you're done that you think might be interested in it, and that really helps me out. If you want to give a donation, you're welcome to. My Venmo the handle is @ the symbol @ and Matthew, once again, M-A-T-T-H-E-W hyphen in the middle, and then Lawton, capital L-A-U-T-E-N. No donation is too small, but really the best way you guys can pay me back is to help get the blog out there, help it grow. Now remember, this is a really important point for you guys who don't know a lot of astrology or hardly know any at all, but are a little interested. Do not get lost in the lingo of the astrology language that I'm going to talk about. What you want to hear is the interpretation of that energy, so that you can work with that energy this week in a conscious and what's the best way for you possible. That really don't get caught up on the astrological terms, but for the people who know astrology, they want to know that stuff. So I'm not going to eliminate it, the astrological stuff too. There's a lot more people who are actually wanting to know why I'm saying that stuff. But if you do find yourself kind of getting lost because you're getting hung up on the astrological terms, just blank them out and listen to what the interpretation is. That's what's important. And the best way you guys can support me, of course, is I am a professional astrologer. I have been one for over 20 years, 7 years of professional schooling. If you need a chart done, or if you know someone who needs some chart work done, please contact me and we can talk about how we can set that up. My email is the best way to get me, and that is mattHue823@gmail.com. That one more time, it's mattHue823@gmail.com. Okay, just getting that business over quick, and I'll repeat some of that stuff at the end. I just know some people have been trying to they don't get through to the end and don't get to my contact, and then ask me, how can I contact you? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to be mentioning this in the beginning. Anyway, let's get to the astrology this week. So this week's all about Venus, and Venus is all about relationships. We're still in Mercury retrograde. We're in the middle of Mercury retrograde, so that's going to play into the energy this week. The Mercury-Jupiter opposition that was right around when Mercury went retrograde is going to have its second hit this week, and we're also getting the Sun opposite Neptune. So there's going to be a lot of confusion too in how to process this stuff. But the key thing is Venus's journey this week. And Venus, like I said, is all about our relationships. It's also about our money. And it's also about our creativity. So that's what we need to think about. And it starts right away on Monday and Tuesday. That's today, the 12th and 13th. Venus gets on the midpoint of that Pluto-Eris square that I've been talking about for over a year, one of the two main squares driving the energy of transformation and change in very chaotic ways in the past year or two. And so Venus gets between the two of them in a sesquiquadrate to both of them. And that's like a stuck position. What we may see is that a lot of our relationships have reached a point where there's a lot of chaos going on, a lot of change going on, a lot of like maybe feelings that are not being processed properly, and now they've bubbled up to the surface, and people are, acting out in possibly destructive ways to relationships. So there's this very intense energy that's coming up in people's experiences with one another, and so the emotions that they trigger are very powerful, and they fall into many times the 7 deadly sins category, where people end up getting into manipulative games with one another, especially with Eris and Pluto involved, because they're feeling hurt, they're feeling revengeful, they're feeling angry, they're feeling possibly even out of control. So it's really easy to lose control in these situations when this intensity comes up, when this chaos comes up, and it's because there's some deep insecurities that are being triggered within us right now. And we really are, the relationships is the way it's coming to us and showing that to us right now. And relationships basically need to change. There's nothing right now that's going to stop them from changing. You can't hold on anymore. And the sesquiquadrate's showing right now that it's like this is something that you can't just step away from. But yet there's not really resolution yet either. It's something that things still have to unfold in order for it to move forward. So very, very intense, and this can cause relationships to break down. Ultimately, relationships that have not been processing the intense energy and experiences and emotions within them can easily self-destruct with this energy. What can be done is to realize that these situations have reached a critical point. Something's got to change, and now it's time to face that. And even though we may not be able to get this forward motion right away, we have to realize that we have to accept the changes in the relationships, whatever that may be. And it could be already too late maybe for certain things to go the way we want them to go. But we have to accept that. If anything, that would actually help the relationship. Otherwise, for relationships that are healthy, it's just yes. We're accepting these changes, these changes in this relationship, and how are we going to work with this? How are we going to, let this unfold? How, and be responsible for the reflection we're getting back to ourselves through those relationships. So very, very intense energy to start, and then it just continues because one of the main aspects of this week is on Friday when Venus squares Mars. And so Venus squaring Mars, once again, shows there's a lot of tension in relationships right now. Very intense energy, a lot of like unexpressed desires, a lot of like, sexual tension and romantic type relationships, a lot of energy that just really needs to output. So there's not a lot of stability once again in our relationships. There's not a lot of things that we can force to get our way and get away with it without creating more tension and stress and that kind of thing. Now, this does give, like I said, remember, Venus also has a lot to do with our creativity. So this, for people who are creative, that can be a good outlet for this, is to really, the square really makes us want to activate and create things. But we're at cross purposes with other people. What we want and what they want this week are not congruent. And, and there's a lot of energy, very active, aggressive, individualistic energy that can really bring self-destruction to relationships. And remember too, this can also be financial stuff with Venus involved. Like, if you haven't been taking care of your money or situations, and we all know the economy is a little bit difficult for people to balance. Now, what's kind of cool about all this is on Friday, Venus also trines the North Node. So this shows if we can accept the changes that are going through and adapt to those changes, then things can work out, that we can have relationship breakthroughs, that we can bring it up to another level, that we can make new connections. Maybe there's other people we're supposed to, when we break from certain others who have been holding us back, there's other people that we can connect to. So there's a lot of hope there for people who handle this tense energy well. But we all have to realize this week, we're not able to force other people to get what we want from them. If we want to do that, we're going to backfire on ourselves. We have to really realize that, there's changes that are always going on in relationships. And if we're not dealing with them on an open level, then they're going to have weeks like this where they bubble up to the surface. And, then we top it off with, remember what I said, Mercury is retrograde still in Libra, all about relationships, all about the communication in relationships breaking down. Then we have what I mentioned in the beginning, the second Mercury-Jupiter opposition, the retrograde hit, both retrograde. And we also have on Friday through Sunday, the Sun is opposite Neptune. It happens to also be trine Pluto, which will help, and Mars is sextile Chiron, which is going to help too. But what is that Sun-Neptune opposition and the second Mercury-Jupiter opposition going to do? Once again, it's an opposition, has a lot to do with our relationships, has a lot to do with one-on-one type stuff and being very confused as to knowing what to do. It means that our ideals, our visions, our plans for the future right now don't seem very solid. They can be very confusing. They can be like lost even. The Mercury-Jupiter has a big vision, but like I said last week, it's going to be imprinted in this whole Mercury retrograde that, the details probably have been overlooked and they're going to trip us up. So and because it's in this Libra, the Mercury retrograde, it has, once again, it's going to come through relationships, and it's an opposition, come through especially one-on-one relationships, partnerships of all types, not just romantic. And then the Sun-Neptune, it just brings in a lot of confusion. It's hard to nail down where other people are at. So, it really can be demoralizing to us. It can make us feel like we really need to take a step back. And I'll tell you, it's not a good time it's, Mercury's retrograde, obviously, but with a sudden Neptune opposition too, you do not want to make any solid agreements with anyone. This is not a time where you have all the facts, all the information that you need. There may be secrets being held back from you. There may be even out and out lies and deceptions being told to you. So this is not a time where you want to get into any solid agreement with anyone, because there's a lot of stuff that could end up having someone end up being a victim or a martyr or feeling really lost. And I mean, once again, this energy is really good for going within ourselves and really straightening up with our own ideals and what they mean, and getting them straight inside of us first. And there can be a lot of inspiration with the Sun-Neptune opposition, a lot of spiritual, mystical, artistic type inspiration. And what's going to help then is that Sun trine Pluto. If we can go in ourselves and find that right spot and deal with the relationship issues that are coming up this week and stuff, then we have the ability to transform ourselves and transform our lives. We can really use our will and our energy and our power to cut like a laser into our life and make very, very sharp and precise ways of moving forward and transforming, and once we transform ourselves, that also starts to transform our relationships. So there's a lot of power available with that Sun trine Pluto, and a lot of drive and motivation and energy to actually want to make these changes. But it's still having to come from within ourselves first. But we all have places where we're in power, and we can use that power in a good way in this situation, and maybe align more with some of those Neptunian values and the Jupiterian visions. And maybe once Mercury retrograde ends, we can start to move forward with that stuff again. And now the Mars sextile Chiron, which is also on the weekend, exact on Saturday, gives us the drive and motivation to want to make changes. So these two aspects are really going to help at the end of the week, the Sun trine Pluto and the Mars sextile Chiron, to have the self-motivation, the drive, the power to make changes. But I think it's going to be a week where, there's going to be it'll start really rough, and having to face the reality of where certain things are with relationships, with money, with our own creativity, at a stress point, at a point where it's blocked, at a point where things have to develop, bringing a lot of tension up. But can we go back within, see where we made some kind of assumptions about ideals and plans and visions where we didn't really, check everything in detail that we needed to. And now we can go within, make those changes within ourselves first, and then with the Sun trine Pluto and Mars sextile Chiron, start to work next weekend on some of the solutions coming from us first that will start to change a lot of those relationships. So a very interesting week on that stuff. And with the Mercury retrograde, all these planets retrograde right now, like I said in the monthly, it's going to be a backwards month this month. And and in the sense of the external world, but that means a lot of inner work can get done, and that's what starts to affect the external world. So when October 1st rolls around, Mercury goes direct, some of the other planets, Pluto's going to start going direct, some of these other planets, we're going to have a lot of change happening in the next couple months or so, and a lot of stressful stuff. But this is a week where we're really going to have to look at relationships that have hit these blockages and that really just need to transform. All right, that's all I got for this week. It's not the biggest week, but it is a pretty key week. And remember, Mercury's retrograde, so still. And so we really need to be aware, to just the inner work is more important now than trying to push what you want to do in the outer work. Finish up what you've been working on, rather than starting new things. Expect travel snafus, expect communication breakdowns, especially this week with all this relationship stuff. You know, the typical Mercury retro stuff. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It's available on YouTube every week. If you are a YouTube, if you have a YouTube account, become a follower and just turn on your notifications and you'll know when it's posted every week. Also, it is on all kinds of podcasts. Just check out, you know, whatever your favorite podcast is, Spotify, whatever it may be. Look up Astrological Winds channel. Like I said, there's really no reason right now anyway to see the blog. I'm talking to the camera most of the time. It's also available on, or this link is available on Instagram, and there's extra material on Instagram too. For daily stuff, not every day, usually a couple days a week. I'll add a little bit, and that's just comments, so there's no commitment to a video or an audio. You get it done within a few seconds. Also, I posted on Facebook. It is a private account, so friend request me, Matthew with 2 T's, Lawton, L-A-U-T-E-N. It is a free service, and you guys could really help me out with, you know, with coming together and all supporting one another in unison, in unity. So everyone trying to help each other out with the talents and abilities that each of us uniquely have. And the best way you can do that for me with this free service is to please, as soon as you're done, pass the link on to someone else you know who might be interested in it. And it's no guarantee, I get that, but just I would love to have you guys support me that way. And of course, the best way, other way to support me on a personal level is if you need a professional reading. I've been doing professional astrology readings for 20 years after 7 years of schooling, after 10 years of studying astrology by myself too. So you're talking about someone who's been involved in astrology over 35 years. Natal chart reading you absolutely need done. If you don't know your natal chart well, or if you never had it done well, you carry it with you your whole life. And if you're not aware of those energies that are prevalent in your life and how to work with them properly, it's very, you know, it's a very hit and miss situation for you. I think everyone needs to have that done. Every year around your birthday is a great time to get a predictive reading. It's a weather report for you personally for the next year, just like this reading that I give every week for the world. So I recommend that around your birthday when you have a new solar return chart. And then also relationship charts, people who are, you know, connecting with one another, creating a new entity, a new relationship, and want to know how that all happened, how that comes together, what that means. Children's charts, looking at your child's first 20 years and seeing the big events and what kind of energies they run, how to best communicate, work with them. Fixed star readings for people who are really looking for a deeper soul purpose. They can reveal a lot of deep stuff. Elections are very popular, and I recommend them too, especially if you have something really important that you're doing, like, you know, getting married or launching a business. You can hone in on a better day, a better time. There's no perfect time, but we can find a better time for success for you. And then hooray, if you really have a burning question emotionally that you just can't seem to find the answer to, sometimes we can find the answer in the charts. I also have beginners classes. They're $25 a piece unless you're a student with a student ID. They're $20 a piece then. They're available on Dropbox. All these services, email me, mattHue823@gmail.com. mattHue823@gmail.com. I am reworking my website, and I'll have that up hopefully by the end of the year again. And that'll be another way to get me, and there'll be a lot more little treasures to look at on that too. All right. That just about does it for this week, you guys. Like I said, hopefully if you, just keep on the simple part. If you don't know the astrology part, that the relationships are the big thing this week that you need to work on. All right. Until next week, this is Matt Lawton, and this is the Astrological Winds channel signing off.